2017's Golf Story was one of the first indie success stories on the Nintendo Switch. This console exclusive touted its narrative-driven experience alongside gameplay mechanics that would supposedly appeal to both fans of actual sport as well as fans of the RPG genre. While it's no secret that Golf Story was a success, did it actually live up to the precedent it set? Can it be truly enjoyed by sports fans and non-sports fans alike? The story in, well, Golf Story is simple and straightforward. It begins with a flashback of the nameless protagonist playing golf. What else? With his father as a young lad. The purpose of the introductory cutscene is to reinforce the object that will become his passion later in life, and the aim of the journey that begins when you take control of him some 20 years later, to be a golf pro and the tournament champion. Of course, along the way you will need to convince a prospective coach to take you on, overcoming a number of obstacles and completing a series of wacky quests that never are predictable and only tangentially related to golf. These include cutting grass, assisting an archaeologist dig up some ancient treasures, including antique golf equipment, solving a murder mystery, fighting undead skeletons by hitting golf balls at them, and other ridiculous tasks that always, at the very least, are entertaining. Throughout your adventure, you also play frisbee golf and control a flying drone. To summarize the narrative and dialogue that underlies it in Golf Story, it is unremarkable but serves its purpose well enough. Or perhaps the more charitably, and to use the cliche, it is simple but sweet. And while it is also like Pokemon in the writing, it always felt somewhat shallow and unserious. Golf Story does stand out insofar as it has a lot of charm. While Golf Story is a rather simplistic role-playing game, it remains at its core a fairly deep golf game. And on this front, the developers totally nail it. The game does a fantastic job of steadily introducing new gameplay mechanics that allow for a surprisingly in-depth and thoughtful golfing experience. At every hole, you are forced to consider the types of clubs that you'll use, the wind trajectory, the angle at which you hit the ball, the amount of force that you will use, accuracy, and so forth. To add to the enjoyment of the gameplay, the minimalistic soundtrack consisting of simple beats, groovy bass lines, and occasional horns fits perfectly with the vibe of the game, whether on the golf course or fulfilling some quirky mission, like melting golfers who have been frozen in ice on a snowy course by using, wait for it, fiery golf balls. Yes, seriously. This brings me to the biggest criticism of Golf Story. The story works for what it is, but where the game really shines is when you're playing 9 holes. Unfortunately, whereas the game had potential to offer a great replay value outside of the story mode, the features that are available if you want to kick back and just straight up play golf are severely restrictive. Sure, there is a 2-player mode that you can play against a friend, but there is no online functionality, and worse, no option to even play against the computer. You're basically confined to competing against yourself and your previous achievements. And while it tracks whether or not you've scored a birdie, eagle, or hole-in-one in previous playthroughs, it never records any additional stats. Golf Story would have taken a giant leap forward if it only offered a few more options than just a bare-bones quick play mode. A season mode, a tournament, something along these lines would have been extremely welcome and would have made it a game that we could easily enjoy playing for months and months. All in all, Golf Story is by no means your typical RPG. Its essence is that of a solid golf simulator, albeit one with a pleasant enough story slapped onto it and stitched together with traditional RPG elements in how it deals with XP gained on the golf course and upgrading stats and equipment. While the 2 main issues with Golf Story are a lack of any other game modes outside of story mode and quick play, and the sometimes dull tasks sprinkled in between the meat of the game, for example, the actual golfing, the game does manage to get enough right to make the game recommendable to pretty much anyone, even if golfing and or role-playing games aren't your typical cup of tea. It'll be interesting to see how the team's highly anticipated next endeavor, Sports Story, will play out as it expands just beyond golf. If Golf Story is any indication as to what we can expect, then we are all likely in for a real treat. And don't forget to visit SwitchRPG.com where you can find the full written review. The link will be in the description. And be sure to subscribe for more upcoming Nintendo Switch RPG news, reviews, and gameplay.